And we're live on a special birthday edition of...
Oh, happy birthday!
Oh, thank you!
How old are you now?
I'm not saying.
I think I remember.
Yes, yes. Well, keep that to yourself, please.
I was planning to play a birthday song on YouTube, but you can't hear it, can you? No?
No. But as luck would have it, happy birthday to you has actually now become, I think it's Commons. It's now been opened up. It used to be, you used to have to pay a fortune to play it in movies.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, anyway, happy birthday, Ben. I knew it was your birthday.
Oh,
I was waiting to play the song, and that would play us into the episode, but
that's okay.
It doesn't work.
Right, okay. So, most important thing, and I have got the cooler on. And this has happened to Hannah before, where I have not put it on in the past, and she's been left hanging, staring into the camera. Is he coming back? What's happening? So it's like that. It's like 10 minutes of that in one video. So today we're going to do creative NE in the ENFJ, and this is the hangout where I have to work a little bit harder for people to go, hang on a minute, NE, that's not the second function in ENFJ, everybody knows it's NI. So this is the one where we have to work hard. And I will acknowledge that Dario's opinion, and I'm a little bit of this opinion too, is that Model G is right about the creative function when the person is developed, when they become a bit more mature. And although in I would say like when you have an ESFP that really know it's really the center of attention and they're very charismatic, they're using a lot of FE. Or right, so I'm going to share my screen now. Right, got the fan on, not got too much running on in the background. If my sound ever becomes peculiar, especially when I resize graphics, please let me know. So. Theoretically, this is optimum energy. So the function receives as much energy as is needed to solve challenges. The more complex the task, the more energy at its disposal. So I would contrast that with the functions in the blue column by saying those functions tend to be overindulged in a person because they're their favorite functions. So for instance, we maybe see how in previous hangouts that Hannah may think, Ben, you are indulging in TI and NE right now.
That's possible. And
maybe in hangouts with INFPs you have thought, you really do like those two functions of FI and NE with INFP. So people can stay in their two favorite functions. And so the idea there of it taking more than its lion's share. Right, I will say a little bit about the social mission block, and then I'll talk about externalities and internalities. Right. There we go. I'll maybe just keep it like that for the moment, because it's hard to resize. Now, I hate the lag effect. There we go. So, is that both clear to you?
Yeah.
Right. So this is the social mission. Victor really sees these two things working together in someone's role in society. So I think the easiest example of that is ESFP, where you have SE artistry working in conjunction with their FE, with their people skills. So getting their talent across, I suppose, using FE. The social mission of the ENFJ. Now, usually they are called the teacher. Now, does Victor call them a teacher, mentor? Usually they're called the teacher. And I'll ask you then. Let's see if it's intuitive. So, I'll ask Jonathan first. How do you think that ENFJs use NE in their role as a teacher, or mentor, or leader?
Well, I don't really know any, but I'd imagine so. I mean, if I try and imagine what an ENFJ teacher would be like, it would be getting people involved and being. I suppose it would be like if I was more extroverted. So.
I always think Tony Robbins, and it's an ENFJ.
I don't know what that is. So.
You don't know who Tony Robbins is?
Or if I do, I don't. The name is not familiar.
Oh, I'll ask Hanna. I mean, Hanna, what do you think of Tony Robbins?
I don't know who he is.
Ooh, I think if you, well, he is a very tall, very good-looking man who, well, he was in the 1980s, and he was famous for it.
I shouldn't know. I mean,
it was like if you Google image him now, you'll see what I mean.
okay. Tony. Robbins.
Yes, I see. I think you've. I get the feeling that you've asked me this before. I didn't know who it was then. I think I've seen this picture.
I've never seen.
Entrepreneur, bestseller, fabulist.
See, I just thought he was this guy who held these events, who said, "Come on, you folks, believe in yourself. Tomorrow will be fantastic. I just thought it was all that. Oh, no. This guy was using a heck of a lot of NLP and actually teaching people good stuff. And I got one of his books called Unlimited Power: The New Science of Personal Achievement. And you just think, oh, what a load of nonsense. But he actually got like the basics of NLP explained really well. So I'll have sections like eliciting someone's strategy. And so it's really pretty good. So that's why, because when I used to think, oh, this was just a con, but a lot of these people that go to these things ain't stupid, so they know. So what do you think of him, Hanna? Now you've seen his picture.
He looks. I can't say this. Well, let's put it this way. I usually am suspicious of people who look like that.
Oh, right. Right. Yes. Yeah, he has got that, and that's what my initial impression of him was. Right. No. Right.
But I have to say, he reminds me of. I know some. I'm fairly sure I know one ENFJ who is a teacher, who is a researcher and teacher, and he loves to teach. He's like he sometimes said. I remember he saying that teaching is his vocation. He loves to teach, and he definitely used NE. If I'm thinking about his class, he was a very popular lecturer in where I was, and he used these quite imaginative ways of teaching. Sometimes his lectures were quite appealing, and also we have one philosopher in Finland, a very famous, like a popular philosopher, who I'm fairly sure he is ENFJ too, and he's very smart, and he uses and people love his lectures too, and he uses these quite imaginative subjects, and but the way he speaks is totally FE, and he's ENFJ for sure. So.
Oh, also we have to, I think, point out that this is like, I think the way Victor's written these profiles is, this is almost like an idealized use of the creative function. So it's like, when it's the INTP profile, it's like, this is an INTP that has a vision and knows what they're doing. They're not tangenting all the while. And I suppose a better example is the ENTP, where most ENTPs are tangenting all over the place. And the ENTPs that have a really strong creative TE, they're the ones that become the inventors and the entrepreneurs, and the ones that are more focused than the average ENTP, I would think. You can shoot me down if you want to.
Yeah, I can see it. It's true.
So, when you said that he did any things, what sort of things would you say they were?
Well, he proposed his wife during a lecture, one lecture.
Ooh, that's a little. Ooh, I would think that's a little bit naughty. That's putting pressure on her. That's a little bit naughty.
Yeah.
Hope she wasn't SE polar.
I think she's probably ISFJ in MBTI, so I think, but not SE polar.
So what do you think of that, though, Hannah? Though, what do you think of proposing to people in public and putting the other person under pressure to accept?
Horrible.
Yeah.
I think I would
totally like say no if I was asked, proposed publicly.
I think I would only do that if I had an inkling that the other person would be okay with it. I'd kind of gauge it before I did it. If I ever got, if I'm ever in that position.
Yeah. Because what you can say is
romantic.
Right, it would be like you might propose to them and then say, "Oh, I can do it in public if you want, just for show."
No, I wouldn't ask them. It would depend how well I knew them and how do I think they would react. Maybe I'd have a practice public thing. Like I do something else in public for them first, and if they're okay with that, then I'll. But we're speaking hypothetically because I don't have anyone I'm planning to publicly propose to right now.
But I have to say though that I don't criticize him for doing it. I mean, I think it's okay, totally okay if you want to do it. Although I don't think it's, well, it's a bit. Well, I don't maybe think it's proper to do it in the university, like during a lecture. But anyway,
yeah,
I'm okay with it. But I just wouldn't want it to be done to me.
Yeah, I just think it's pressuring someone. It's using the group to pressure someone.
Yeah, but in a way, because it was obvious they were very in love. And,
yeah, I mean that.
So.
Yeah.
So it was cute for them.
Fair enough.
But it made me. But I think the person who would propose to me would really know me enough, that he wouldn't do it because he would know that it was not the right way. But, yeah. But I think it suited them. So.
Right. So yeah, that's FI. Interesting.
And
right.
I have to say about that one thing. It became it went to public. I mean, it came to this yellow. How do you call it? Journals. I mean, it was in the news. The day after.
All I heard was yellow, journalist, and news.
It was in the news. She was saying it actually got public. Yeah. So it wasn't just that he proposed in front of the class; it's that it actually got reported in the news.
All right. Oh, okay.
So, that must be even worse for you too. I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan.
I will ask one thing more.
Yeah, go on. That's great.
Yeah. But do you think ENFJs, or I mean these FEN types, that they enjoy publicity?
Ooh, do they enjoy publicity? Yes, I think yes.
I would say it's
Yeah,
to a point. It will, don't know. It depends.
It's
Theorizing.
yes, I think they do. If you want to see a lot of FE, if you watch Hanna, can you understand some Russian?
No.
Okay, that's a straight answer, right? Because interestingly enough, Wojtek says that he can understand every 5th Russian word because his first language is Polish.
Yeah, but Polish is like a Slavic language, but Finnish is totally different.
Right. And if you watch Olena being interviewed by Victor, I just remembered something because he says 99% in Russian, right? And then when she goes off, and then said something like, "Oh no, she's gone away. She'll be back soon." This is the 1%, folks. The 1% that's not in Russian, right? So
So it's in what language? Ukrainian.
Russian.
yeah,
Russian.
in Russian language to get more of an audience. It could have been Ukrainian. I mean, but it would have been a smaller audience. I mean, they're both.
You wouldn't be able to know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to know, but you know, it would get fewer viewers. But yeah, my point is, she does a lot of the eye accessing cues in that interview. So she does a lot of looking up to the upper left.
Ah.
And now, Darren Brown, he says that the eyes have it some of the time. So you have to be. I don't know if any of you have looked into eye accessing cues as to how reliable they are.
No, intuitively, I would say they're not. I would agree with that. They're some of the time, maybe most of the time, but not all the time or anything like that. I mean, I pay attention to that sort of thing just naturally anyway. So, but I don't necessarily notice it, but I would subconsciously I would pick it up.
Yes, all the INFJ magic. These are the things that they can do naturally.
Yes, so right away, I would never ever think that you could tell what someone's thinking or feeling or whether they're lying or not or anything like that just from their eyes, because it would really depend on certain situations and the person and so on.
Well, the best thing to do is to if you could establish a baseline with someone.
Even then, though, I wouldn't. I mean, it's not at all. Like I said, it's more subconscious for me, so I don't necessarily pay attention to it. But I don't. It wouldn't be my first or second or third thing to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was a thing in the UK, and I'll mention this, folks, because you'll be able to find it on YouTube. And I don't know, you may have both watched it after I sent it to you. Did you both watch Psychopath Night?
I don't think you sent it to me.
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't watched it.
Right, it was this Channel 4 documentary, and it talked about Dr. Kevin.
I remember that.
I think I've seen part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he talked about when he talked about the positive traits of psychopaths.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, hang on a minute, they're the positive traits of the ESTPs. And honestly, it was the calmness under pressure, all of those other things, and it's like, whoa, these are the positive traits of. And he actually says, and you'll enjoy this bit, Hannah, that he said that James Bond was an a psychopath, especially the Sean Connery version.
Yeah, I don't. There's a different definition of psychopath, I should say, because.
Well, he does the psychopathic spectrum. The spectrum.
Yeah, because I noticed right away that unhealthy ESTPs were definitely psychopaths because I'd already read about psychopaths before I got into typology. But yes,
Wow.
we've had discussions about this in the groups where me and Eileen, who no one knows here, we
I've
would talk
heard of
about.
her.
Yes, you've heard of her, and Tara knows her, but the audience doesn't. We've talked about psychopaths a lot and have all these weird conversations about that, and it's just become a bit of a running joke in the group.
Does she like them?
They're interesting.
Ah.
I think yeah, but you know, INFJs have this thing for psychopaths.
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
You see, there you go. See, that is
Okay.
something. That is a prediction by Socionics that is backed up. The intertype relations. I think the dual conflictor. It's like 90%. Whenever you talk to MBTI people, it matches up, and they don't know. Like, so if you talk to an INFP, they don't know what their intertype relations are supposed to be. So if you ask them, what do you think of ESTPs, ESTJs? Or if you ask other types. So it's not like they're giving the answer they're supposed to, but they, you know, because they don't know about the Socionics intertype relations, but they give usually consistent answers.
Yeah, but do you think that happens with every type or just sometimes? Because I don't think many
I
say that they like ESTJs. I don't think.
I think yes, with some types more than others. So for instance,
yeah.
So ISFPs generally will have a problem with ENTPs. I think you're right though that with certain types the relationships are brought up a bit more than with others. So I'll talk a little. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I would also go just one last note about psychopaths. Just although I would say psychopaths correlate with unhealthy ESTPs, and I'd say the descriptions of psychopaths are modelled off of unhealthy ESTPs, but that doesn't mean that ESTPs are the only types that can be psychopaths, or that obviously that any ESTP doesn't have to be a psychopath. Most aren't, but there's different types of psychopaths as well, and it's correlation, but it's not 100%.
It's not 100%.
It's probably not even 90%. It's probably like
it's like
60,
there's
50, 60.
similarity in a way that some other types can have with some other kind of
Yeah.
Oh yes,
yeah,
like
INFPs can be quite depressed sometimes,
and SI DOMs with OCD.
Oh yeah. And ENTJs and TE DOMs are very type A personalities.
Yeah.
Can be.
Yeah, ETJs are actually probably the next most likely to be a psychopath after ESTPs and ISTPs. Oh, ESTJs, I would say, and ENTJs, because they won't be the serial killer type or anything like that, but they may be the type who'll be considered psychopaths because of the way they run companies or whatever. Things like
villains.
Well, but also the sort of, like you read books about narcissists and psychopaths and how big companies often correlate to that. It'd be like their indifference to the damage they might do when they're making business deals and all that. That's the sort of thing. It's not that, like I said, it's not that all ENTJs or anything will be like that, but ENTJs are more likely to, compared to most, to be running big companies or anything, and big companies are often considered to be quite psychopathic.
Well,
by some authors.
Yes.
And certain politicians and stuff.
Yeah, well, we won't go into that at the moment because we're short on time. But that's a whole, because my channel I've recently done. That's a whole different side to my channel, the economics and politics. We'll be doing more of that in future.
Yeah.
But generally, I would say these days, because of social media, is people have the ability to check out reputations of companies that they deal with first. And like anytime you buy anything off Amazon, people are always looking at the reviews, and not just the reviews, but the reviews of the reviews. And so it really is best to have a good reputation. Right. So now here's a tricky one for people. Externalities versus internalities. So Jonathan, you've seen quite a few of these videos where I've explained this. Would you like to explain it? Externalities versus internalities?
These are details, though, so don't always pay attention. Because
I consider you an insightful person, and you might be able to explain it better than me, like a different angle.
Well, it's externalities go out to be it. So it's really just about how you're isn't it just extroverted functions in a way, like how I'm lost. Pressure. you go and I'll follow.
Okay, so I've done this. So Hannah, what do you think? Would you like to explain externalities?
No, I don't.
Okay, okay. Right, okay.
Smart lady.
Right. Right then, so the theory in MBTI is that we interact in the world through our top extroverted function.
Yeah.
That's not Victor's theory. Victor's theory is that I'm just going to end the screen for a moment and I can tell someone about this. Dario, something that backs up Victor in this is that Dario reported that introverts overall report greater comfort with all of their introverted functions than with their extroverted functions. So that backs up, so that's consistent with Model G, where the externalities is, so for introverts, all of my externalities are introverted functions, and the same with Jonathan.
Okay.
And so the idea is that we have greater comfort with them, and we operate at greater range, greater psychological distance with those functions, and the closer you get within someone's psychological range, the closer you get to knowing them, the more you see their extroverted functions. Now, I'm going to have a look in the book, 8 Keys to Self-Leadership. Right, here we go. People have an overall preference for either introverting or extroverting. Right, here we go. Right, so this is from the findings. People with an introverted dominant process do more introverted activities overall, particularly basic ones. For example, someone who most prefers introverted feeling will likely report moderate comfort with basic introverted intuiting, such as having sudden, hidden aha insights they can trust, and moderate comfort, it's not hidden, so I'll say that bit again. Moderate comfort with introverted intuiting, such as having sudden aha insights they can trust, and moderate comfort with basic introverted sensing, such as reviewing lots of information over time to confirm a set standard. Conversely, people with an extroverted dominant process tend to do a lot more basic extroverted activities overall. So that's consistent with Model G.
Mm.
So that's from 8 Keys to Self-Leadership, folks. And I also recommend this book, Interaction Styles. And this one, Neuroscience of Personality, which Hannah has read.
They should really be paying you since you're advertising their books.
Yeah, not only that, I should have a free EEG session rather than paying $220.
Are you doing it?
No, I'm not. Anyway, but the thing is though, he's going to come back in a year or two, and I know the dollar will be half price by then. The economic knowledge, of Austrian skilled economics, I know it will be half price in a year or two. I'm pretty confident on that. Right. Right then. Right, so, right, yeah, so, externalities, the top row. Right, I'm gonna just talk a little bit about externalities, and I'll ask for your comments. Right, so,
Yeah, but
yeah, go on.
Jonathan, can you see the slide?
Yes.
I can only see Ben's face.
Oh no.
That happens sometimes.
Okay, I can
Now
try.
okay, now it's
Oh, I stopped it. I'll try again. Right. I will click on it and see if you can both see the lovely diagram.
Yes.
Right. So externalities.
Oh no, you're gone.
It's gone.
It's only your picture of your face.
Holding the book.
Yeah.
Is it come back yet? If you click on anyone's square or
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
right? Okay. There we go. So I will click on my square. Right. So externalities. So it's just the top row. Like I said, when Dario said there, introverts are better at all of their introverted functions than their extroverted functions. In general, there's little nuances in there, but Victor thinks that. So, for instance, he thinks that with an introvert, when you first meet them, or if you see them at a distance, where it's just sort of like an acquaintance, you'll see their introverted side more than you see their extroverted side. So you see their introverted qualities. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this, and I think there's little, like for instance, INFJs with their FE, they can like turn it on a little bit.
Yes, it depends. Probably most of the time, yes, it comes off as an introvert, but there are times I can seem quite extroverted. So.
Yeah, and this is why I very much like the video I did with Crystal, that's 3 hours long, on the creative use of FI. Because she talked about the different modes that she goes into. Like when she's in counselor mode, then she is NIFI. When she's in like certain roles she is obligated to be in, or conventional roles, she is like NIFE. She's more in an FE mode, but she prefers in NIFI. Her preferred role being the counsellor, giving people one-on-one help.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Many other faces, but they're all me.
But yeah, but then again, Maria thinks the demonstrative function is very powerful, and she actually said publicly that it is the core of the type. Now, maybe she's saying that because she also is INFJ, and the FE is a big part of her, just as it's a big part of you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Right. So, the externalities is the top row. Externalities cortex activated by external stimulation of the function in the launcher position. So, ENFJs are stimulated by SE. Right, because they're kinky. and this probably, I think that Diana Dawes was an ENFJ, and she was attracted towards men of bad character because they were exciting. And that's the flaw with ENFJs, in my opinion, is their romance style.
And INFJs.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not.
Yes.
It's not that I would know better, but you know, still kind of catch my eye.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't, because Nicole has said. Oh, I can't say what Nicole doesn't get on brilliantly with ISTPs, and I believe Hanna would be the same way.
ISTPs.
Yeah. TISI, TISE.
I get a lot better with them than ESTPs.
Right. Okay, but not famously. Right. Not brilliantly. Right. Okay. I'll just. Right. So externalities. So directed outward towards society. Is there anything you would like to question me about that so far?
Society.
Hello?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, just you
Right,
quiet.
I just thought of... But anyway, so the idea here is... So this third bullet point here. The externalities group takes precedence whenever society is involved. Therefore, we place this above internalities, because when it comes to survival and development, socion is of greater importance than a single type. Now, Victor did grow up in the Soviet Union,
Yeah.
so I'm just saying that might be a hangover from that. But, you know, in a lot of places, where you live is very, very important. And ironically enough, it might be said that it's only people that live in countries with certain very permissive societies that enable the individual to think that they are the master of their own destiny, whereas most countries are very authoritarian.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. And one of the things I read one of Victor's old articles, and he actually said that he got the idea of the type names from Kersey, in terms of like naming it after someone's social mission.
Mm-hmm.
But ironically enough, he's actually called the ISTP the inspector, which is what Kersey calls the ISTJ, because he's like totally mixed them up.
Yeah.
And Dario said that, yeah, and Victor himself thinks that the LSI, his LSI, is ISTJ in MBTI.
Hmm.
Because the way he classifies the Guardian type stuff as TI+. Right, so
what's ISTG in his system then? Also
ISTJ is ISTJ is a little bit weird. It's like the first function matches, because in the hangout with Dario, I showed him square one, Victor's SL profile. All those things matched ISTJ, but there's other things in the profile that more match ISTP, but that one's more of a mix. And like I said, I mean, when I would like to do, as luck would have it, I have two ISFPs I can go through the Victor's RS profile with. Some more people of that introverted sensing types to go through the profile with them to see how well it fits. And then we've got here, then we've got bullet point number 4. Indicated by down arrows, top functions suppress lower functions, but on its territory, the bottom functions are free from the control of the upper functions. Analogy, ride a horse.
Mm-hmm.
So, we talked before about, I suppose I'll give myself as an example. David Kersey Jr. agreed with it, is that when the INTP feels more comfortable, their NE comes out a bit more, and they can act. And Kersey Jr. called it flakiness. He called it when the INTP becomes flaky, their flakiness comes out at close psychological range. So the top series is directed towards society, and is to do with this block, the social mission block. And then if this one fails, this block, there's a sort of another block called the social adaptation block, and we can talk about that in a future hangout.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, you can. Please do.
Oh, would you say that the function number 4, whatever the name is, I don't remember, would still be stronger than 5? So I mean, is this sort of like, you know, if this is 1 and this is 5, so does it go like this, or is it like this?
Well, it depends on the mode. So I will go to the diagram that gives the explanation of Model G. As you have seen, we'll talk about that. Yeah. And I think Enneagram comes in here. There are a lot of INFJs. They're tertiary TI, so launcher TI. And if they're an Enneagram 5, you've probably seen this, Jonathan. There's a lot of INFJs who are like really strong TI if they're an Enneagram 5. And that, even though it's just their tertiary function, it can be really strong when it's looping with the NI. You've got that TI-NI loop going on.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
What do you mean?
Well, if you talk about that, that can be an example for our audience of how strong the launcher function can be when there's a matchup with Enneagram.
Yeah, can you recognize the NITI loop yourself?
Myself, yes. The thing is, I'm not sure about INFJ 5s because a lot of them, I think, are mistypes. And I was a mistype as an INFJ 5 because of how the tests are. So I'm not saying INFJ 5s don't exist, but I'm not sure exactly who they are or not, because a lot of the time they do turn out to be something else, including myself. As for NITI loops, I will say it can be very difficult to tell the difference between NI and TI.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, because NI is quite unconscious and it is perceiving. It's more. It does its own thing a lot of the time. It goes its own way. Whereas TI seems more deliberate when I'm using it.
I almost see NI as an unconscious TI, and you're sort of like you get the end product when you get the inspiration. You get the answer, but it's like at school where they say show you're working. It's like NI doesn't want to show it's working.
It's so annoying. I don't want to show my working half the time as well. I was like, I do, and I don't want to show it. But it's so. I always think of it as something like if you have a fruit and you're squeezing it and it just comes out in little drops, but most of the juice is still there.
Right.
Or like it'd be like comparing ice to an ocean or something like that. It's like you're getting a little. If you took a glass of water and just took a bit of the ocean and froze it, that would be NI when it's out there. But in there, it's all wild and free and bizarre.
I'm glad you said what you said there, Hannah, because I've got like 160 slides and I forgot to show this one, and this is the one that I should have shown. This is the one that gives more information on the positions. So yeah, you were talking there about the launcher position 4. Right, and about how strong it can be. So there. And I talked to Maria about this, because she's an INFJ 5.
I can't see it. Well, hey, by the way, I can't see it now.
Click on me and then click on it again.
Yeah, I did, but it
didn't work.
Okay, I'll try.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, right. So Maria's INFJ, Enneagram 5. Yeah, she said it publicly. She did a master's thesis in thermodynamics, and so she was involved in research chemistry. She said that she was stimulated by INTPs.
Yeah.
And so I remember in one hangout asking her, well, okay, you're a clever person. How does this match up your experience in terms of you're an Enneagram 5, yet in this model you're supposed to have low energy for TI? And I think she said something like, it's the INTP will put something in this system, and the system needs to be explained to her, and then she can sort of take that ball and run with it.
I would sort of agree with that, and that's sort of my experience of this. I remember being scared of all these Model G profiles at first. It was just so intimidating, but eventually I got used to it.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting that even though you might find it intimidating, but still INFJs tend to be also intrigued by this.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's sort of like this kind of very complex model. I've seen the same in philosophy, actually.
Yeah.
There are many INFJs there, and they love how because I think INTPs and ENTPs are like they are the archetypal philosophers. But INFJ, there are also INFJs, and I think they come there because they're fascinated about philosophy.
Yes.
And they love to read and listen to INTPs.
I kind of think I use TI as a refining process, like to refine things and like refine all the information that I'm just getting all the time.
Right. So part of the you're gone.
When I'm using it on its own, I think I can use it on its own, but I do think it's a bit more simple. At times.
Apparently it's like if we go here, so launcher position. This function is in this position is triggered from the outside. Thus, it is referred to as launcher. It is the most sensitive and is about new data input or collecting the feedback, because it starts a new round of mental activity. It's so in INFJ it was the thing that would stimulate the NI. So maybe you hear a new idea or a new theory.
Well, all the time, what comes to mind is if I'm reading a book or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe watching a show by myself. All the time, I'll be reading through it, and then something will happen, or someone will say or do something or that, and I'll stop, and then just start pacing up and down and processing it. Or it will inspire a thought in my head, and then I'll go back to reading or whatever, and then the same thing will happen again, and so on. So, yeah, that sort of thing happens.
Right.
Example.
So Hannah, now because you've asked this little bit, I hope that you give us like an extra 20 minutes because you've asked about this. Even though this is not technically part of this hangout, we're supposed to do creative function, but now you've asked, I'll be a good host and talk about it. So, like paired with position 5, demonstrative. So if you think of the jewel, so if we go to 5.
Okay, can you, so now, before you continue, can you say for ENFJ, so this function would be what?
NI, demonstrative NI, and the launcher would be SE.
SE, yeah. Okay.
Oh, Maria called it the kick up the ass launcher. Okay. Yeah, that's how they're launched, with a kick up the ass. And she says the INFJs don't mind her giving their sons a kick up the ass if they need it. Right. So, strongest position at close range. So I suppose you would say. If you look at if someone encounters an ENTP and an INTP, they'll notice all the tangenting and all the NE stuff on the ENTP, and they won't notice that as much, except when they get in closer range to the INTP, and then they might say, "Are you sure you're not an ENTP?" So that's what they'll say to the INTP, right? If they know type. So, if we get a little bit too much into this, Hannah, then that's another hangout, really.
Well, we don't have to, but I just wanted to. I think it's interesting to think like.
Yeah, it is tricky, and it depends on different modes that someone's in. So usually the launcher function just starts things, and the ENFJ and ENTJ are stimulated by SE. But we will get back. But your question did enable me to. We can talk a little bit about this block, this square. And now that I've numbered them rather than done bullet points, it's easier to coordinate. So number 1. So Jonathan, would you like to? What do you think of the things in there?
Execution decision means stage 1. Function implements or creates. The function is flexible and unconventional. I'm not sure what to make of that actually. It's,
Right.
wait a minute. Unconventional, which is us. I wouldn't consider myself a conventional to begin with, so it's a bit. Yeah, I can be a bit I can't be in that direction. I like unconventional stuff, but I'm not necessarily that unconventional myself, so it's all hard to relate this to me.
Right, okay. I'll ask Hannah, what do you think about the 4 things in that green box?
In creative.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, if I think about extrovert types like this, I think it's easier to understand that it can be less thought about, like it's very active. But it's more difficult with introverts, I think, because in a way I think that introverted functions are introspective also in a way, so that they are more reflective. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I think in introverts it is easier to see their demonstrative function, which is extroverted, than their introverted creative function.
Yeah.
So it's easier to see. It's definitely easier to see an INTP as NE than their NI.
Yeah.
I suppose with this would be like if I was creating something or writing something or anything, it would be like I work best when I draw on my emotions and my feelings, or when I'm in touch with that. I suppose I can relate to that, and a lot of the time I actually think I get stuck when I'm worried about what other people will think about what I'm writing or whatever. Or like if I don't have to worry about that, I don't have to worry about someone else's feelings and how they're going to react, and it's a smoother process. If I'm just going by what I feel in here, but it's not. It's all hard to stay in that mode at times.
Right. Hannah, how much time do we have left?
An hour.
Right. Okay. So.
I might need a break to get some water. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Whenever you want to get water, that's fine. If you want to get it now, it's up to you.
No, I still have some, but
okay.
I might.
Right. So now, in order to, I'll just do a little bit on the ESFP creative use of tonight. Show an example of the creative use of FE, because I usually go back to this for whenever I talk about the creative function. So these are all things from the Kersey ESFP performer profile, and I will ask Jonathan. These things in this green box, which function do they sound like to you?
Well, FE.
Yeah, FE. So this would be, to me, this is consistent with the ESFP using FE for these goals. And I would say that part of their goals are determined by the demonstrative function as well. If we say that their demonstrative function is FI, then and I've asked Jeff about that. He says it's an instinct. The way artisans see their FI is pretty much an instinct.
FI or FE?
FI. Because I asked him about his kindness, and he just said it's an instinct. You know, it is what it is.
So is that typical? Would you say that that's typical for the fifth function?
Pardon?
Is that typical to be the fifth function to be instinctual somehow?
No, but I do think that the fifth function does contribute towards someone's goals. And because I think, so for instance, if you switch it around with ISFP, they've got a demonstrative SE. I would say that they like if we just switch the type to ISFP, they've got this demonstrative SE. So I think, okay, everything that goes along with SE, a little bit of audacity, the freedom to act in the now, the freedom to improvise. These are things to do with the essential motivator pattern, as Linda Bones would call it. And so the essential motivator pattern is bound up in that green column, sorry, in the blue column, and then that's just the means in order to achieve these things. So ESFP uses FE to achieve these things. It's usually attention. Now, and I can contrast that with ESFJ, which will use FE. I know ESFJ have FE here in square one, but they use FE to achieve guardian aims, guardian motivations, guardian wants, guardian values. ENFP may be using FE to bring people to their cause for their goals. Now, who else is using FE? Right, so, and of course, oh yes, that's an example, isn't it? If you think about ESFJ and ENFJ, that creative function changes what their motivations are. Or if we're talking about it scientifically, the different motivations of person B is why we classify them as an ENFJ, and the different personalities of person A is why we classify them as an ESFJ, because of their motivations being different. So the FE here so the creative function is not used for its own sake. It's used to implement something in positions 1 and 5. So the dominant and auxiliary. Right. Any questions about that?
No, I'm thinking about. Have you watched House MD when it?
No, because it would annoy me.
Why?
The bits I've seen is too annoying.
I love the character House. I mean, I think he's a good example of an ENTJ. This is
I'd give him a piece of my mind because he would press on my polar function.
Oh really?
Oh yes.
What do you think about it? Or do you know him? I mean, what do you think about his type?
I don't think he's an ENTJ. I think I've actually seen him typed as INTJ and ENTP, and I think the way he works is quite ENTP. That like the bit where he gets his team together and he asks them to throw him out ideas and he just says no.
He's creative. That's the thing. That's his. Yep. He's ENTJ because he's
creative.
Is his creative function. That's what I.
Perhaps.
And he's but I was thinking about for some reason I started thinking about Dr. House when Ben was explaining, because I thought about how he uses that his NI is very instinctual, the character because when he's thinking about he has all these ideas, this NE creative, and then his TE goal is he's very medicine oriented, very scientific, and wants to be effective in his problem solving. But then his NI is this instinctual, that when he gets this final aha moment, it's sort of like.
But you see,
well, when he does that final aha moment, usually he has 3 or 4 of those moments, and usually people die because they're wrong.
Yeah, but you see,
no.
I see all of those things are a product of the production, because a lot of the writers are going to be NE types. You're going to have aha moments because of the nature of the narrative.
Apparently there is an actual. They're making a show there is an actual consultant who is a house, a real life house, and he was partly based on him. The other thing is he's partly based on Sherlock Holmes, which is a
lot of them are.
Yeah, well,
right. Okay, Jonathan. This is Jonathan. Now the spotlight is on Jonathan for a minute. Tell us your thoughts on the type of Sherlock Holmes.
INTP. So, not really much doubt. I don't, because he came up with his own. For his time, he came up with his own system of crime solving and solving crimes and stuff. It's very much his. It's very much introverted thinking, I would say. And in the original books, he's very much against the way the police do things, which makes sense because Victorian police were terrible. So he's more or less invented his own thing, and there's a few reasons. It'd be better if I had the INTP profile to talk through it, but I would say he's usually typed as INTP as well, so it's not a big stretch. I've seen him typed as a couple of other things, but INTP seems the best fit to me.
Yeah.
House is not INTP though. House is
no, it's not.
House is. He's based on Sherlock Holmes and things like his name is House, not Holmes, and he's got his own Watson character in Wilson, and but he's not an INTP.
The way I react to him, I've never seen a full episode of House, but I react to that kind of attitude the way Hanna reacts to Donald Trump.
You're meant to a bit though. He's a bit of an arsehole.
That's the thing. I can't stand all that.
That's
Do
weird.
not like that.
Interesting because I really like House. I mean, I feel sorry for him. He's a sad character in a way, but I relate to him. I have said to my husband that I have a little Dr. House in me. I know that. So I don't think he's ENTP.
But it like I said, I've never seen a full episode, so I shouldn't really comment. But
there is an INTJ in the forums who insists that he is House. He is the same guy, different job and all that. An INTJ. I think he could be an Enneagram 8. House is an 8 definitely.
One of the problems I have is I think that Hugh Laurie's American accent is to me, I'm coloured by the fact that
I think it's good. It's so good that Bryan Singer, who produced the show, actually thought he was American.
Oh,
was
God.
all these fake British actors.
The problem is I used to watch Hugh Laurie and a bit of Brian Laurie doing this similar kind of accent when he was taking the mickey out of Americans, and I also get the impression that when I'm watching Hugh Laurie doing this, I just get this huge feeling that he is sold out by doing this and all these crappy films where he could be like they could make. And plus, it would be better if James Callis did it. I've got a thing for James Callis. I love James Callis. Baltar in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. I think it was a very good part for Hugh Laurie because it showed his more serious side.
But like I said, I've not seen it, so I can't really comment on it.
I've seen all of it. So.
So there you go. I can't comment.
It's quite good, but it does get very formulaic and.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they do call them procedurals.
Yeah, but
those episodic ones that you can watch in any order.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, like back in the day, with procedurals, you would have more light-hearted shows and more upbeat characters. But with these procedural like House, everyone's stuck in a crappy life and everything goes wrong. Nothing's allowed to go too well. So it gets a bit depressing and repetitive. And
it is very depressing because it's
there
are like full of smart people who all like mess up their lives. So.
It's because it's a medical procedure and the way it's done. A lot of the time, the house or the team they'll have a patient with a mysterious illness. They'll think they'll know what it is, and what they'll do will actually make it worse. So it's not like a detective show where they're being outsmarted or anything like that. They're actually in danger of killing people because of their own work.
That's good writing then. Apparently, and Jeff told me about a series. I've not started watching it yet, but he told me about a series called Homicide, where it was actually new in that there would be cases where they weren't able to catch the criminal. Well,
it's not. No, they always solve it at the end. It's just that on the way there, they always make things worse before they get better.
Oh, and right.
It's not good writing because they do it every single time.
Oh, right.
It's like if I imagine if I woke up in House's hospital and I saw who was doing it, I would be crap, I'm going to die, or I knew it, these people are going to kill me before they save me.
So, but that would have been dark though. I mean, they couldn't really have done what they did in Homicide, which what Jeff told me is that there would be lots of times where the villain got away in Homicide, and that was new. I don't know if
there's no villain. Well, there's a couple of villains in the house, but usually it's just the disease or house being an arsehole.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So this is just for people who, if they want to pause this, this is the tote model, and this is how we'll go over this in future hangouts, like especially when we get to number 4, when we talk about the launcher. This is the overall, the top 4. Because like I said, we don't have an enormous amount of time left, so people can screen grab that, because I've not got to the bullet points yet. So you can pause that and think about it.
Okay.
Right,
so now I will go to the bullet points.
I think it's a real pity that of all the you've just created all these new types. You've got them all for all these new types, but you don't have ENTJ or ENTP and all that, and the other ones we want to talk about.
Well, I have ENTP, but I have to maybe read up on my interaction style. One has to be very careful when I have with these. Maria and Lena are not translation monkeys. They have to. They have to. One has to be very diplomatic in asking for translations, especially when one of them is a professional translator, and she is doing them for free.
Well, it would be nice to have ENTJ in the future, because it is
okay,
especially for Hannah's sake.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to vouch that to Victor. How do I break that to Victor then? You know, Hanna, you typed as ENFJ. Well, she thinks it's an ENTJ.
Oh no, just phrase it. You don't have to bring up Hanna. Just suggest it somebody else. Just ask for ENTJ.
Yeah,
please.
I'll try. I will. Yeah, I think I will. In about a month, because recently I got those 2 other profiles out of Victor, the RS and the LS ones. So anyway, so now we're going to. So Hanna, how long have we got left?
45 minutes.
45 minutes. Wait. Right. Anyway, we should have enough time if we. So you can see how long it would. If I tried to do the whole model in one hangout, it was way too much.
We have cameos from Jack Aaron and AGR&D. All cameos.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait, well, he's going to end up looking like me. I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
Fate worse than death. Oh, what about this? I mean, Jeff's probably not watching this, but what about statue to Jeff?
Who? Who is that?
SP Spouse.
Oh, that's.
It's a good statue.
Did he show it, Jeff? Did he show it?
Yeah, he's not the most enthusiastic about the comparison. Right. So what am I FE is up here. Right. Is this it? No, that's FI. Right, because I've got 160 slides here. I think this is it. That should be it. I think that's it. Because that's FI, that's FE. Oh, yes. Just like to show people. This is iSense wheel. And this relates to... This is a little bit like Victor's temperaments. But we've not got enough time to go through that, right? We can maybe have enough time for that later on, because we're on a little bit of a limit from Hanna. And if we weren't, this hangout would end up being 10 hours. So we're going to go to... So she's keeping me on the straight and narrow. And now we can talk about bullet points eventually. Right, so... I will try to get this. because there's some people who are going to be watching on a small device, and I'll try and get it the optimum size for them. I'll try and get it as large as possible for them. So as people will probably see, the reason why this is quite slow in getting it the right size is that it is a scalable vector graphics. And what that means is, folks, is if I zoom in, it rescales. And so it is super duper sharp. Because it's, again, it rescales. So, but
so that's the stuff the CSI guys use for cameras.
Pardon?
In CSI, they always have they'll zoom in on they'll have a camera or a picture from that, and they'll zoom in and it'll be clear as anything.
Yeah.
Even though it makes no sense.
Yeah, I know, it makes no sense, but this is how it's produced. Right, so I sort of got it in the middle so that people are not distracted by the dominant function. We've done the dominant function. So, over to Hanna. So, this number one, what do you think of that?
I would need some context. Meaning that not just any new and promising ideas, but it has to, like we talked before, these have to connect to these motivations and goals. Right?
Right. And what would those be in your case?
I don't know. I'm not ENFJ, so I don't know. Well, okay. If I have to do a project, like now I'm at school, or in my school, I have several teamwork stuff that we have to do. So we have a certain time scale, we have a certain project that we have to create and execute, and and we have a lot of stuff to do, so we have to be effective. So in order to get things going, I may in the start mode encourage this brainstorming kind of session where we first think about what kind of ideas, what kind of ideas there could be to create this project, and then after we have several ones, then decide which one. I don't necessarily love brainstorming as such. From zero. If there is some kind of, some kind of cues or some kind of where to, start from, then it's easier.
Which meaning of brainstorming are you using? Are you sort of using like loads of people around a table, like throwing in ideas, or do you mean like one person on their own writing down ideas on a piece of paper?
We have had different kinds of. We have had those that we are like 6 people in a group, but then first we individually write ideas down, and then we share them, and then we pass them on to the next one, and then we, it can be like a process, or it can be that we just talk and let randomly these ideas come up randomly, and it can be like that. It depends.
Now, we could do a little digression here, but it's actually relevant, is because recently you've started to look at Linda Behrens' interaction styles. So if you could talk a little bit about how you in particular match certain aspects of that could like throw some light on this for the audience.
Well, yeah. Lately I have started to think that I'm probably mostly in charge kind of. I have this in charge kind of interaction style, but I don't think it's that static, meaning that I can take other styles also. But what comes most naturally and most without any effort. I mean, this in charge style comes without any effort. It's more that I try to tone it down because I see that people feel uncomfortable if I'm being too bossy or.
Why do you want to be in charge?
I don't necessarily want to be in charge. But
Right.
it's like I get really frustrated if people are being slow, first of all.
Right.
Slow and ineffective and passive. That triggers me. So if people are like that, passive, lazy, passive, slow, and inefficient, also called as lazy or something like that, then it triggers me and I want to get things starting, and I take charge and just try to create roles for everyone and just decide what we are going to do and what are the most important things. I just create a plan. I create a plan and then try to make it a fair game so that everyone has the task.
And you've been like that most of your life.
Yeah.
So before you had children and even as a young girl.
As a child I was like that, but then as a teenager and in my 20s I think I was more depressed also. So I think I've become more like that again, like in my 30s I would say, and I was like that as a child, but in between that I was a bit different, more behind the scenes. So.
Right. Okay. I'll ask some. Dario's probably not watching this video, so the core drive. Neither is Linda Bones. The core drive of Chart the Course is to have a plan of action and to see movement and progress. And their stressors, not knowing what is likely to happen and don't see progress. Those are the things that can stress up that interaction style. And then when the Chart the Course people are stressed, so just for the audience, this is ENTJ, ENFJ, ESTP, and ESTJ. So, folks, there's each temperament has 4 different interaction styles within it. So if you know someone's temperament and you know their interaction style, you can work out their MBTI type or their sociotype using those 2 things. So you can help to triangulate someone's type by using that, and then you can use functions as well. So so you can look at what someone values, their essential motivator pattern, their Kersey temperament, and also their interaction style. As a part of the picture, when stressed, they shut down. Something written here, insistent involvement. There might be a little bit of a typo. How to help, be calm and direct, let them know what to expect and update on progress being made. Be patient as they express thoughts. Okay.
So what's the difference to in chart? I'm a bit confused.
Oh, you know what I was doing there? I was looking at the wrong one. I was looking at Chart the Course when I should have looked at In Charge. Thank you. Because what they did is they put it in the top left. I thought they would have put in. I would have thought they would have put In Charge in the top left. But the core drive of In Charge is to get results, see action taken. Stressors feel out of control, nothing being accomplished. When stressed, are bossy and demanding, have outbursts of anger or blame, resentfully check out. How to help them. Tell them the reasons for things. Help them see that something is being done and by when. And by when.
Yeah.
Join them in their humour.
That's me.
Is it being done and by when? Yes. That bit tickled me. By when? Right. So.
Yeah, but I've been like that, like word to word, with some projects. I'm like, I want to know when. I've been a bit like pressuring people to give me dates and.
Yeah, that's the problem I have with my FI role. Is I'm like, oh, how much pressure? Because I don't like put the pressure on. But then,
yeah, I don't enjoy it. But then if there's serious, if there is a project that I have to, it's a bit different with hobbies, of course. Then I'm a lot more laid back. But if it's about school or work, then I'm more strict.
right, okay. So if we go back to bullet points, right. Have you got anything to say about bullet point number 1, Jonathan? Or did I already ask you that? I don't know. I can't remember.
I think you did, but
Oh dear. Okay.
yeah, it's not something I relate too much to. But,
I'll ask you about number 2 then, and then Hannah can give her thoughts on number 2. What do you think of bullet point number 2?
Can you give an example of it?
Well, I don't know. I'm not an ENFJ, but you may have observed some.
No, like I said, I don't really know any ENFJs. We should have got an ENFJ for this ENFJ hangout.
Well, I thought I had one.
Yeah. We will need to find a new one. We'll catch you one.
Well, we'll see what happens if. Well, it depends. I mean, would you like me to invite a couple of? Because I could invite. You see, the real ENFJs are outside having fun.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Right.
We know one or two in the groups. Yeah.
Right.
Could always audition.
Right. So, I'll ask Hannah then. What do you think about bullet point number 2?
Yeah, sure. This is what I mean when I have seen these ENFJ teachers, for instance, that they are very creative when they are explaining something. So if they have an idea or a topic for the topic of the lesson, they will use many kinds of sources to explain about the topic or make people work with these different kinds of methods to understand the problem or the topic. So yeah, they do that.
Do you think they ever go into an ENTP mode?
Possibly, yeah. Or ENFP.
Oh, me and Hanna have witnessed an argument in one of the groups where an ENFJ was arguing with an ENTJ about logic. Basically, was accusing the ENTJ of all these logical fallacies, which may or may not be true, or depends on your point of view, I suppose. But I suppose that was sort of like that. It was TI versus TE, more than any.
Right. Okay.
So I think what I would say is that I can see an ENFJ sort of modifying their style based on the audience. So if they can see that the audience doesn't get something, one method, then they will quite creatively take another aspect or approach to the problem. So but I think their motivation comes from the audience or from the other people.
Yeah.
They want to use them.
Right. Yeah. So that's a good example, folks, of the NE being used not for its own sake, but for an end associated with FE.
Or you can imagine a religious leader or cult leader.
Yeah.
All kinds of methods.
Picking and choosing.
So, any thoughts on number 3, Jonathan?
Well, I can sort of relate to that myself in terms of I can see paths. Like if I see people arguing, and I think they're not understanding each other, whatever, or they've given up on each other, whatever, or things like that, I can see very clear ways out, or different alternate paths that they're not considering, and all that. I don't know if I would say I can succeed, because usually I don't. Usually I don't think it would. I can easily suggest that I can sort of understand, in terms of things like that.
Have you ever? This is relevant. Have you ever seen the episode of Star Trek where Captain Kirk gets split up in two
No.
between his
Yeah,
good side and his dark side?
I think so.
So, do you think many INFJs feel like that they might be half of another person, and if they combined with the ESTP, there would be Captain Kirk, or maybe a better, like an integrated whole?
Well, I wonder if lots of people feel like that, though, or if lots of people are like that. So that's
Sorry, which people?
lots of people. Like,
Oh, lots of people.
it's more like maybe it's more like we're just more aware of that sort of thing, like sort of
Yeah.
white child dichotomy. This is the sort of thing Young talked about, and even Robert Louis Stevenson here talked about that as well. Like light and dark.
In terms of duality, Socrates married a woman. He married a fearsome young woman who was like 40 years younger than him, but she was fearsome. And I was wondering what type she may have been.
I'm not familiar with that. I've read quite a bit of Plato and Socrates, but never knew he had a wife until now. So, well, if you're thinking, well, okay, what type would you suggest? I mean, for fearsome, that type of thing. I mean, that's obviously not marrying his dual. I mean, he's an ENFP.
I don't know.
He's not marrying an E. He's not marrying an ISFJ from the sounds of things.
No. It might be one of these cases of like an Enneagram. Anyway, we don't want to get too distracted. How much time do we have left, Hannah?
Half an hour, maybe?
Half an hour, okay.
I have it in my dinner, so probably it's half
Okay.
an hour.
Right, okay. So, I'll ask Hannah about number 3. So.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I think there are some beautiful examples of ENFJs. I mean, from my perspective, I think the most beautiful examples of ENFJs are those who work for the underdog. So like I could imagine some special need, special need teacher. I mean, this special, this
Special needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who work with children who are sort of seen.
Yeah, the intellectual. Yeah.
Yeah, and they see opportunity in them. They see hope in them, and they succeed because they're very good with people, and seeing their potential. So they see potential in those kids and help them to, achieve some happiness and stuff like that. Or I think I've mentioned this one. What I think was an ENFJ nurse who has won these awards and everything. This Finnish nurse who has been all over the world, helping in very poor countries with epidemics, and helping to build some kind of structure to healthcare, in working in these projects. And I think she's an ENFJ, and I think they can beautifully see these opportunities and potential in places that other people probably won't. So yeah, with their NF idealism.
What do you think about number 4?
Yeah, and they can be very vocal about about it.
Examples?
Well, I think that I don't know that many ENFJs, but those ENFJs that I know, they like to share when they are discovering something or searching for something, and that's what I mean, that they in a way they like publicity, not necessarily like all in the open, but at least at some level they like to share what happens in their lives if they find something or if they discover some new, and they like to receive feedback from other people. Like they like to share their about themselves, or they, I mean, not necessarily about their emotions or stuff like that, but they're about their inner growth. You know.
Mm.
I think so.
And oh, maybe you could give us some anecdotes for number 5.
Can find a novel solution of a problem by emphasizing controversy. I have very bad examples now. Which
Good.
Good.
No.
They are not positive. I'm thinking of some arguments or debates that I've been in with some ENFJs, and they can sometimes use rhetorics in a negative way. What I mean is that they can sometimes build these straw man arguments,
Right.
and use them, and they can do it deliberately. So
Ooh.
yeah, and I've seen it happening. So that just reminds me. I don't know if this is meant. It's probably not what is meant by this, but this is what I thought of. Because strawman arguments are based on illusionary controversy or illusionary enemy. No, that they are then fighting against an illusionary enemy.
Right, a little bit of scapegoating as well. Yes.
So they can find a solution. Think about some kind of think about a racist of some sort. So they create this enemy. They create this something. It's an illusion. But they have it, and then they start fighting against it, promote their overall ideology. So they find a solution. Like Hitler, he found a solution to a problem. No?
Well, Jonathan being a historian, we could go into a lot about Hitler and the fact that German nationalism already existed quite a bit in terms of because they had a racist colony in South Africa, I think it was called German Southwest Africa. I think it was Namibia, and that was a very repressive regime there, and so the racism that Hitler tapped into, it was already there.
Oh, but it was old one. I mean, it was thousands of years old. I mean, anti-Semitism has always existed there. So, of course, he was using all these old arguments. But
it's just that in recent years that there's been a revisionist view of German history that, before Hitler there was no racism in Germany. It was just him.
No way. It was old. I did my master's thesis on anti-Semitism, the history of anti-Semitism and racism.
But also things like with the German colony. I don't know, was it Namibia, Jonathan?
Don't know much about it.
Anyway, so what? Right. So which bullet point are we on there?
5.
Number 6.
But hey, I want to know, do you have any examples of the number 5? How did you understand that? But I'm not sure I understood it correctly.
I'm not sure I understood it either.
I don't know what it means either.
I've got.
So it tells something about
I
him.
think I've
Publicity.
got a vague idea of what it means, but I can't quite articulate it. Like, I think it's one of those things that'll come to me later, but I don't think I can
Alright.
do it now.
Right, so what do you think of... See, this is the thing. Victor associates NE with risk taken. NE plus with risk taken.
Paul easily takes risks. Well, I can imagine that with them, like not liking their introversion, not liking being alone. Like they always want to be around someone or do something. So maybe wanting to travel, perhaps. The other things. Yeah. Like, so I could see that in terms of needing to act like an extrovert, but it's not normally the thing I'd automatically associate with an ENFJ.
Right. So, well, I can talk a bit. So how much longer do we have left, Hannah?
20, 25 minutes.
Right then, so I will talk a little bit about... Okay, I will, just to make a little bit more, I was going to show my NE homework that I've done before, but what I will do is I'll show a little bit about that, but then the definitions. I won't necessarily go through all the Douglas Adams, and then I'll talk about tandem use. Some examples of where Dario gives of using NE in tandem with SI. So, this is, yeah, I call this my NE homework because we were set homework for the NE hangout by Victor when we did it last year. And I'm glad it was because I've been able to reuse this many times. So this is a quote from Jung which mentions SE in passing. It's his definition of NE. I like that definition because it doesn't assume that the potential is in the object. We don't know how much is in the object, how much is a property and how much is read into it. And that's another quote. So Hanna at the moment has killed her mic. I don't know what's going on.
I shouted in Finnish to my husband to get me some water.
Oh, okay. Oh, you see, now you're an in-charge type. You're really going to be happy with being like this. Oh, it's just my interaction style, dealing. It's how I am.
See, if you wanted, you should have done that without the mic off, because then we would have been able to type you better.
Yeah.
You know, was it a polite command, or was it?
You will never know.
We will never know.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that definition, Hanna?
That's quite interesting. I remember when I was into this one typology, this Jungian typology group called Cognitive Type. They had a really interesting conception of NE, and it was very close to Jung. And I remember then thinking, it sounded so weird. But back then, I was actually typed as TENI, so ENTJ, and I did find NE a bit weird from that, because then I identified as extroverted thinking and introverted intuition. So we talked somewhat about extroverted intuition, and what I found weird is that, and what I still don't quite understand is that, if this extroverted intuition so that people understand that their mind is adding a lot of stuff to their perceptions, or is it sort of like they can't separate? I mean, I'm comparing to SE because they are saying that extroverted sensing takes things very pure, like in a very pure fashion, as pure as we can. Of course, we are all prisoners of our senses in a way that we can't, help that we see everything distorted in a way. But they say that in that theory at least, and I think in every Jungian theory, extroverted sensors have the closest relationship to the reality because they sense it at its purest, whereas extroverted intuition is the opposite of that, because it has this sort of like this veil of this rainbow-colored veil that colors everything. So they have these lenses, these different colored lenses that even before it comes into their brain, it's already like colored in some.
Yes, because I see any as when you see something, you make connections to things. And like I said, if you have 10 people strong at NE, not just the NTPs, looking at the same thing, they've all got different knowledge bases, they've all got different needs, and say they can see the same object and get different things out of it. But all 10 would be looking at the same object with the same properties, and they would link that to different things.
That's very constructivist. If you think about these paradigms in psychology, I think it's in social sciences basically. The constructivist paradigm has been one of the major paradigms in recent years, and I can see it. You can see it in different fields. So I think constructivism is very NE at its core. It's very NESI at its core. So it's NESI working in tandem. So the idea is that we always base everything on our knowledge, on the knowledge we already have. So and that's like NESI building up our whole life. So of course, different people have very different kinds of conceptions because they have built their inner world like for decades.
Yeah, and that's how Dario's pretty close on that with the Maria has a saying that intuition is the daughter of knowledge. So and as you said again there, so did you think my explanation was constructivist, or was
your explanation on NE?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, so I can go on a little bit further with this, because we've got about 20 minutes left. So this is how Dario defines NE. Because we might as well, because that's what we have left, isn't it, Hannah? 20 minutes? 15 minutes? But you've got your drink now. Right, so Dario Nardi on NE. So this is, like I said, so 10 different NE people, and other people, just different people. It's the same stimulus can lead them to create different things. So this is where I'll give I'll give a little summary of the infinite improbability drive. So Douglas Adams has the problem that he's writing a story in which at the end of episode 1, it might have been episode 2, he's Arthur and Ford prefect. They've been thrown out into space, and he's made a big deal of the fact that they have to be rescued within 30 seconds or they're going to die of asphyxiation in space. And so he was thinking, every explanation I come up with to how I have them rescued is really, really improbable. So it's like, what can I do? And so that's the context, that's the problem that he has in his mind. Then he is watching a television program on judo, and the coach is explaining that in judo you have to try to use the weight of your opponent against himself so that you can throw him. Use his weight against himself. And so that idea there, use your opponent's weight against himself, Douglas Adams was able to go, hang on a minute, there's something in that. And I'll explain that, and Douglas can do that in his own words in a moment, because I typed it up. And so this is another example. This is a definition of, this is an any heavy definition of creativity. Or the first one.
Yeah, but one thing that I don't understand, I still don't understand, is what is the difference of NE and NI pattern being? You know, because they also said that NI is very associative function and these patterns. So what's the difference?
I would say that NI patterns are more objective, or they're more, I'm seeing things that are there and how things are going to go and all that, whereas NE seems more of like exploring things, exploring possibilities, exploring patterns, maybe making them up as you go along.
Yeah, more tangenting, whereas NI is more about development, change into the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm inventing patterns or anything like that. I feel like they're there and I'm sort of understanding them.
Maria thinks that NI DOMs can score high on NE in tests, because in tests it's just theoretical, and that would be an example of their control function. Where NI... So for instance, Jonathan...
Sorry, go ahead.
When you did keys to cognition test, did you score quite highly on NE?
I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah. I might have recorded it with you a few weeks ago. I can't remember.
You recorded it with me, yeah, 1 or 2 weeks ago. I don't think I scored a low.
Right. Okay. So this is an example. This is how NE works. This is the best example I can think of how NE works. And what I can do is I can tag team this with Jonathan, who can play the Scott. It's a Scottish name, Douglas, so you can do Douglas Adams, Jonathan, and I'll do the interviewer. So in 1992, Douglas Adams, probably ENTP, most people who have read Douglas Adams and know MBTI think he's an ENTP, explained to the interviewer Melvin Bragg why he, Adams, created the infinite improbability drive to solve a plot hole.
I mean, I have to recognise that some of the best stuff has actually come out in the moments of desperation. Writing the early part of Finch-Checker when Ford and Arthur are thrown out of the spaceship, a Vulcan spaceship.
With 30 seconds to go?
Vulcan. That's right, with 30 seconds to live. I mean, it's very much a stock sort of soap opera, space opera, sort of old-fashioned.
Pills of Pauline?
That's right. But the thing I suddenly become worried about... you've ruined it. At that point, I'm suddenly over concerned about, was that I just put them in a possible situation, and that is the sort of cliffhanger is, in which case, how do I get them out of it without then saying wasn't an impossible situation after all? I've got completely and utterly stuck. I'm now stuck for days in this, and I wonder what the hell am I going to do? And then I happen to be seeing a television program about judo, and the instructor was explaining something rather interesting. He said you have to have some sort of huge 18-stone opponent throwing himself at you. The answer is to use the weight of your opponent against himself. So if he's launched himself through the air at you, try and make it his problem rather than your problem. And now, I thought now,
You mean Judge? You mean Dodge?
Shit.
Right. Okay. So there you go. Go on, Douglas.
I said Vogel instead of Vogon.
All right.
That's right, yes. And so I thought, there's something interesting here. Use the weight of the problem against itself. So I went back to the scene and I thought, what's the problem here? Any answer I come up with to how escape is basically very, very improbable, and the improbability is the problem. Okay, so use that problem. Make the problem the solution. So I came up with this thing called the infinite improbability drive, which is the thing which then causes them to be rescued, but also then gives them an immense new impetus to the plot at that point.
Right, here we go. And then just for our audience, if you read it out, it's only like 1.5 pages. You read out it's like 1 page.
The infinite improbability drive is a wonderful new method of crossing vast interstellar distances in the mere nothing of a second, without all that tedious mucking about in hyperspace. It was discovered by lucky chance that they developed into a governable form of propulsion by the Galactic Government's research team on Damagran. This, briefly, is the story of its discovery. The principle of generating small amounts of finite improbability by simply hooking the logical circuits of Bambleweedy 57's submeson brain to an atomic vector plotter suspended in a strong Brownian motion producer, say a nice cup of hot tea, when of course well understood, and such generations were often used to break the acid parties by making all the molecules in the hostess's undergarments leap simultaneously 1 foot to the left in accordance with the theory of intermediacy. Many respectable physicists said they weren't going to stand for this, partly because it was a debasement of science, but mostly because they didn't get invited to those sort of parties. Another thing they couldn't stand was the perpetual failure they encountered in trying to construct a machine which could generate the infinite improbability field needed to fly a spaceship across the mind-paralysing distances between the furthest stars, and in the end they grumpily announced that such a machine was virtually impossible. Then one day a student who had been left to sweep up after the land after a particularly unsuccessful party found himself reasoning this way. If, he thought to himself, such a machine is a virtual impossibility, then it must logically be a finite improbability. So all I have to do in order to make one is to work out exactly how improbable it is, feed the figure into the finite improbability generator, give it a fresh cup of really hot tea, and turn it on. He did this. It was rather startling to discover that he had managed to create the long sought after golden infinite improbability generator out of thin air. It startled him even more when, just after he was awarded the Galactic Institute's Prize for Extreme Cleverness, he got lynched by a rampaging mob of respectable physicists who failed to realise the one thing they really couldn't stand was a smart arse. Smart arse.
And then we've got genius hits a target no one else can see. Hanna will know this quote. Talent here's a target. Oh, there we go. Talent here's a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. And then it's sort of simple. We've got the actual quote, I suppose, is the exceptional man is like an archer who can strike a target others cannot. The genius is the one who can strike a target others cannot even see. Also rendered as talent hits a target no one else can hit, genius hits a target no one else can see. Other most well-known quotes: all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. Alright, so basically is bigging himself up. Right. So we can what do you think of that as an example of NE?
Yeah, NETI, I would say.
I wasn't paying attention, I was just speaking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've been around a lot of... Yeah, go on, Hannah.
No, it's okay. Nothing.
No, I was just like saying, you've been around a lot of NTPs, so you're familiar with that thinking style.
Yeah, it's in some way fascinating, but I admit that I don't relate to it. I don't relate to this kind of language. But I do like to. I enjoy NE, but it has to have. That is exactly what bothered me in philosophy. was that I didn't see the point. No,
Mm.
I didn't see that why I should use these ideas. Now that I'm in a more pragmatic field, I feel a lot more satisfied because I feel that I have some kind of goal, and that's why I relate more to, and I would relate more to NE as a creative function than as a goal, or as a function that would be more related to my goals or motivation.
You see, it could be that, because they have this thing in, and I'll have to find out more about it in future, called semi-dual shift. But you see, you've always said that you've acted in this in-charge way from the get-go. So it's not as if you've shifted to it in recent years. You've always had that interaction style.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, most people in my life who have known me for a long time, since I was a child or a teenager, would say that I am more of the in charge.
Right. So
People have been scared of me ever since I was a child. People, I mean, I've been told consistently ever since I was a child that I am intimidating and bossy, and I need to calm down. So I don't know if INFPs hear that a lot.
Alright, so tandem use, written down some pages, 159. So we're going to do NE. So the tandem use of SI with NE.
I think I'll have to go because I haven't my dinner yet.
Okay. This will only take a few minutes.
Alright, I'll wait a few minutes.
Yeah, I also have to go. So yeah, Ben can.
Okay, it was just little bits. We can get impressive results using introverted sensing in tandem with extroverted intuiting. We might have a keen awareness of what has come before and link that knowledge to what might be. This might involve drawing upon a wealth of past experience and sifting through what is known to discover patterns. For example, researching the history of the place in great detail to solve a lingering mystery. We might use allegories from traditional fantasy to pass on important standards and values to the next generation, or read mystery novels as a way to relax from the daily grind of work. A little imagination, fantasy, or humour can lighten our daily routine or help make a long-term relationship more enjoyable. Seeing positive possibilities also reassures us when a situation is unstable. One more paragraph. Extroverted intuiting with SI. We can get impressive results using extroverted intuiting in tandem with introverted sensing. We might interpret the meaning of a situation by relating it to images from the past. We see a pattern in the present moment, and in addition to imagining alternative scenarios, we draw upon our memories of the past. This recollection enables us to explore many more situations at once. Similarly, an academic researcher might do extensive research and book study of those who have come before while exploring a theoretical problem. We might embrace the convenience of supportive institutions so that we can live more freely in a world of ideas. We might even dream up a novel way to do something and then establish it as a new tradition or predictable standard for society. So you were mentioning something earlier, Hannah. We can finish with your statement on what you were saying about constructivism, because that fascinated me.
Yeah, well, that's, you have to study what. Do you know you're acquainted with what constructivism is? Are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not familiar with it.
Ah, okay. Well, then I have to. Well, I can't explain it in short, but it's about the idea. That's in all the, like if you look at the schools today, if I could look at my son's school system, it's all based on constructivism nowadays. It's the idea that the children already have a base, and they need to construct the knowledge on that base. So it's an ongoing process. It's SI, it's the the memories, everything they have built up, and it's the NE that gets the new ideas and transforms the it's like a in this cognitive type theory they called it like Lego Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah. So SI is like Lego, and NE is the one that constructs different patterns from the Legos. So it's like that. But anyway, so it's sort of it's like a Lego in our age. It's like a Legoland, that we have. This, you have the Star Wars, and then we have Fabuland, and then we have different areas. So.
Now, when you said a base, do they actually recognize different temperaments?
I don't know.
The children, or do they assume they're all the same?
I mean, of course. I mean, people are. Of course, we are all different. So we have these. We are a mixture of our temperamental tendencies and the environment, of course. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I would say the most important book that people involved in education. If I had to, I would say, please read this book. Please understand me too. When you're trying to base an education system to try to benefit all members of all temperaments, please read, please understand me too, and that will help benefit society.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right, after that wholehearted yes, that's true, I'll end the hangout, and so it's goodbye from me, birthday boy, and goodbye from Hannah and Jonathan.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.